Hello, this is John with Theology Ed again. This is part 7 of the iPet Go to Explain series that I've been doing. You can think of it as a part 6B. So if you haven't watched part 6, it's a tough one just to jump into. It's good to go back to part 6 and watch that first. Right, it'd be best to do that right now. If you haven't done it, go watch that thing, come back. Because we're just going to build on it. In part 6, very quickly, a review for the people who've seen it. We looked at the board, of course, and we had in the classroom, we had the 3 of hearts on the wall, we had the 3 of hearts here. They represented the 3 of cups card in the tarot deck, and they're inverted. The triangle is pointed down, not up. We have the 2 of hearts or cups up here in the eyes, which again is in this context not love. Both of these are to be read negatively as bad for social gatherings and getting together and love and affection. People, in fact, are falling apart, relationships are breaking, things like that. Okay, so it's negative. And they're associated with date ranges. The 2 of hearts with the June 21st through July 1st, and the 3 of hearts with July 2nd through July 11th. And that's not my arbitrary, putting numbers on there. That is basic, the basic relationship of the tarot deck and cards to the astrological signs, and they do that based on decans that each card corresponds to, which is like 10 degrees of some sort of motion in the various signs. So, for example, the first decan of Cancer, the second decan of Cancer, and so you get these dates. We also had in this classroom the girl with the moon and the lotus coming out of the moon. That represented the Queen of Cups. So we have the 3 of Cups, the 2 of Cups, and the Queen of Cups. And a commenter, I think his name was Epheus. If I got that wrong, I'm sorry. But he mentioned in the comments below part 6, he said, hey, it looks like the teacher has a heart on her chest. And I said, I forgot to talk about this. Yes, they're here. There's also a heart on this poster. And this looks like a heart. And I was going to say, I had a plan to say, that when I initially made the first video, I had this box around the teacher and the poster. And then I was like, I have no clue how to explain those, so I'm just going to put that box up there. And then just say, yeah, there's something down there, and I don't understand it. And I forgot to say that, yeah, there's something down there, and I don't understand it. But that's a good thing, because when he mentioned it, or she, I'm not sure, I think it's a he, I said, I responded, oh, yeah, I was going to say something. Then I thought, wait a minute, maybe I'm misreading it, and that's why I'm confused, and something came to mind, and the pieces sort of have come together, I think, and I'm going to explain those now. So this is going to be a continuation. We already have 3 cards, tarot cards, in the room. And I think what we're going to do is build a 5-card spread. I think the room can be read as a 5-card divinatory spread that a tarot card reader would look at and be able to give you a reading, a divinatory reading, tell you what's going to happen, right? This is how they do this sort of thing. And there's 2 other cards right here. We have, and I'll go ahead and explain them. So we have here, I'm going to propose, this is not a heart. That was what was throwing me. I was like, what do I do? How do I match these up? Because if it was a heart, it doesn't look like the other hearts, and this one too doesn't really fit with these 3 and these 5. So it would seem strange to Adam to say 3 and 1 is 4, or And I didn't want to do that. And I was like, why would we have a 1 of an ace of hearts here and an ace of hearts here? That'd be the 2 aces of hearts. That's redundant. But they are not similar to each other, so you can't be 2 of hearts. But you already have a 2 of hearts too, But it occurred to me when I was replying to him, I said, this doesn't really just look like a heart. To me, it looks like a spade, upside down. We don't have the down here. Instead, we have it going up. And she is a black woman. Now, that's, racists have called black people spades at times. So I don't think it would be a surprise for them to do this maneuver. So we have a black woman with a spade on her chest, saying basically spade, negative. So the reading should not be a heart and a heart. What we do have then is an ace of hearts and an ace of spades, or an ace of cups, and an ace of swords in the tarot deck. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at this. Let me go down and find my next slide for this. I was going to mention this real quick. I'll mention this, then I'll go on to that. Remember in Drive Angry, we have the back of that sign, and the sign here with the numbers, and it says here it was rather than here it is. And I said when I was showing that scene the very first time, in the first video I mentioned the Drive Angry stuff, that we have 2 hearts, it looks like, here in the back. And just within this context, I thought, just as an observation, I should share that because we're talking about hearts, and we talked about Drive Angry in relationship to I Pet Goat 2 in part 5 when we were looking at Stillwater in Psalm 23. So here you are, a continued parallel where we have the 2 of hearts, which is the June 21st to July 1st Decan card. Okay, but now let's look at this. We have here, see what a downward pointed spade looks like? Looks similar to me. And she is a black woman. That's the way they get the black in, I think. So what we have here is a spade. Now I used the 2 of spades as my illustration because it was the fastest card first card I saw when I looked up spades, and it also had a downward pointing and an upward pointing, so it was easy to compare the downwards. But this would be an ace because there's only one of them. And here is the ace of swords card. The swords correspond to spades in the tarot deck. And we're going to go and just look at what this guy says. It has to do with dialectic, the ace of swords. Okay? So instead of being about water, the cups are about water. The swords are about air, in this case, air and the element of mind, intelligence. The suit corresponds to the suit of swords, the sense of smell and the sphere. I think he meant suit of spades. The sense of smell and the sphere of dialects and the mind. Air governs intelligence and what is rational. It also controls the game of seduction and courtship. And he gets into dialectic as a part of this. And you go down, here. Within Hegelianism, the word dialectic has the specialized meaning of a contradiction between ideas that serve as the determining factor in their relationship. A dialectic comprises 3 stages of development. First, a thesis, or statement of an idea, which gives rise to a second step, a reaction or antithesis that contradicts or negates the thesis. And third, the synthesis, a statement through which the difference between the 2 points are resolved. Dialectical materialism, a theory or set of theories produced mainly by Marx and Engels, adapted the Hegelian dialectic into arguments regarding traditional materialism. Okay, dialectic tends to imply a process of evolution, and so does not naturally fit within formal logic. This is what this guy's saying. This process is particularly marked in Hegelian dialectic, and even more so in Marxist dialectic, which may rely on the evolution of ideas over longer time periods in the real world. Dialectical logic attempts to address this. I'm not sure how confused he is about some of the philosophy. I'm trained in philosophy, but I didn't study Hegelianism. I was trained in analytic philosophy rather than continental philosophy, and this is continental philosophy. And I'll be honest, I didn't even, and most of my analytic philosopher colleagues didn't bother to read Hegel at all. But anyways, Hegel is famous for this Hegelian dialectic and this three stages: the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. And some people, problem, reaction, solution, this sort of thing. And it's interesting that this is brought up within this context because I know that this is how they operate: order out of chaos, this sort of thing. Create the chaos, get a reaction, and then create a solution, right, to the new state. Either way, I'm mentioning that we have dialectic in this context. Let's keep looking at the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is the seed or essence of the mind. I'm just going to read the highlighted stuff. Thus, the Ace of Swords is a potent card which can be extremely good or extremely evil Now listen to this little line. Evil is live, spelled backwards, and basically implies devolution rather than evolution. Now, on the board, of course, we have what looks like in one direction evolution, and I know the letters are almost certainly not going to be filled in as evolution just because we have the O here when it was called and no O was given there. That's why I propose something like Newit's or Newit love, and there's other options. One person mentioned nasty love, or, you know, they're ideas, right? They're different ideas. There are ways to fill it in with letters that haven't been called yet or chosen. And I'm not sure how to fill it in for sure. No, and I don't think anybody can be certain at this point, that I know of at least. Okay. But instinctively, we want to look at it and see evolution, right? It's the first thing that comes to people's mind when they look at that, and they say, oh, that's evolution. And we also clearly have above the board evolution one direction, correct? So I don't think it's crazy to think that they want us to see it that way. They want us to see an evolution and going backwards. Because remember, we're going from right. Here's our Ace of Swords. We're going from the right side to the left. That's our timeline. Has been in almost everything we've done. Okay? And this would be evolution backwards, and this would be devolving as we go into the map. When all these attacks happen, what are we doing? We are going backwards. Okay. Let's keep going. So when the card is an evil card, and we have this one upside down, and in the context of other negative cards, given the spread in the classroom, the card spread in the classroom, evil is so we'll go down. The Ace of Wands represents a natural force, while the Ace of Swords, what we have in the classroom, represents that which is invoked, a force called upon. That's what they're doing in the ritual, right? They're calling upon the forces to do this thing, to do whatever evil. To Kabbalists, this may become the sword of wrath, punishment, and affliction. Excuse me. Okay, and then they get into some 777 stuff, which is used as like a mark of the beast for Crowley, not just 666. He uses the 777 in this way as well. And so down here, it's somehow related to the Ace of Swords. It's the Kether Kether is God not living. Akath Ruach Elohim Shilem Ashim is the spiral energy that produces living creation. 777 is also the number of the Scarlet Woman, the Red Goddess, the Blood of Life. Crowley named her Babylon. Okay, so this card, when it's evil, is very evil, very negative, extremely evil. The way this guy puts it, reverses evolution. Everything goes backwards. Okay. Now, when the Ace of Swords is thrown during a divination in the spread, it is implied that person who's interested is experiencing mental clarity and inventiveness, problems being overcome with original thinking, and so on. But look, out of evil, some good will come. That's the Hegelian Dialectic at work, right? Doom. This is the card of Morgan the Fate, finality, tragedy, and ultimate fate. However, it is release, freedom from past restraints, and a new lightness and or a kind of salvation. For these guys, that's how they would view this. The beginning of an idea or information, the arising of inner insight. This card depends on the surrounding cards to show whether it is fate or rebirth. Okay. So in the context of IPECO 2, certainly there's a rebirth element in the video with the other cards and the negativity of them. I think we're also looking at these other characteristics, right? Out of evil, good will come doom, and so on. Now, that's the Ace of Swords on the woman's chest, okay, from her dress. Here's the Ace of Swords depicted in that, in one pack, and it has reversed. What is the reversed Ace of Swords representing? Chaos, confusion, lack of clarity. Now let's move over to our Ace of Hearts. Remember, we have the single heart left of its own kind. No other hearts look like it. It's unique. This is your ace of hearts. I should mention, the ace cards do not have dates. There's no decan that they correspond to. Like I said in the video in part 6, not all, some cards, I said something like some cards have decans or dates. That means not all of them do, some don't. The ace cards do not. So this card is not going to contribute anything to timing. It's not changing the timing as far as picking a decan. The ace of hearts is also an ace, which will not pick a decan. All dates in this spread are going to be picked by the 3 of hearts, the 2 of hearts, and the queen of hearts. So now, let's go to the ace of hearts. In the Witch's Tarot, ace of cups, so I said ace of hearts, but I'm speaking of the ace of cups, depicts the great mother creatrix, whose power is that of water, will to form. Here, the great cup, vessel of creation, womb, floats on a large lake with 4 streams of water flowing like a fountainhead into the lake. These 4 streams signify the 4 universal elements being created and returning to their source. The stylized scallop designed silver cup is surrounded by pink, flowered, and green leaf water lilies. Okay, so you get the pink flowered lily or lotus. These are the Hindu and Egyptian lotus, that is the sacred flower attributed to the creatrix. Okay, so this is another, like we've talked about this before, this is the act of creation, rebirth, birth, all that, which is why this particular lotus probably is picked in the video as well, in iPetGo 2. But let's keep going. Yeah, so we have within the sun rising to a new day, behind the moon, metal cup, silver, and water everywhere. This card is totally dedicated to the great ocean, mother of creation. So the same theme. Okay. Let's go to the next card. We have the same card, but now we're going to use his explanation of part of the Thoth card. The Ace of Cups represents the secrets of water in its original form. It's associated with moon, vaginal womb to the masculine, electric sun phallus. Upon the dark sea of Bina are lotuses, 2 in 1, that fill the grail cup with the life fluid that is either represented as water, wine, or blood according to the selected purpose of the symbolism. Of course, in iPetGo 2, it's going to be with water. In such symbolism, the lotus can be replaced by a blood red rose, thus representing the blood red sea of Bina, from which all life flows. The blood red rose is often represented of the image of the rosy cross symbol, representative of the image of the rosy cross symbol. Okay, so what does it imply when it's thrown? When it's thrown, it suggests that in a period of 1 year, the querent will develop a new relationship or new awareness about existing relationship. What I think is interesting about that, in this spread, we have a card that's saying it doesn't have to happen immediately. You won't necessarily perceive everything that's changing right on the day or right at the beginning. You have a year. This will be a year, could be a year period of time in which things unfold and become clearer what's happening. Okay, the opening of spiritual, psychic, intuitive channels. So this is related to the opening of channels. Okay, heralding a pregnancy and birth, growth, love, and clairvoyance. So this is, again, our new birth, resurrection theme, new life. So here is the spread. We have an Ace of Cups, up, pointed up. I have it pointed up. I think that's right. We have the Ace of Swords inverted. We have the Queen of Cups up. We have the 2 of Cups and the 3 of Cups down, inverted. So we have not love, not love. We're told it's not love. Another context in there, so we know we have not love for these. But we have the sword pointed down. Her spade is upside down. So I'm not sure we should flip these two. Maybe we should because of the saying it's not love in the passage and on the board. But anyways, observations about the 5-card spread. I'm not qualified to give an official interpretation here. I have astrologer, tarot reader. I'll just put I'm not. There. I'll just change this to I can't do a reading. Not qualified, but I can give my informed guess based on what I've read. in what I've shared with you guys, which is we have a 5-card spread that has only 3 cards with dates, associated dates, all of which overlap in this one period of June 11th to July 11th, this 1-month period, with also in the calendar we have the solstice, we have the solstice eclipse, the buck moon, we have the Neptune retrograde, we have Venus retrograde. Interestingly, and I should add this, and I was sitting here thinking before I made the video, I'm forgetting to add another thing that I planned the first time and this time, and I'm still forgetting it. What it is that these cards also have planets that rule them, okay? Associated planets. And the 2 of Cups is Venus, the 3 of Cups is Mercury, and both are retrograde during part or all of, and switch during these times. So the Venus retrograde ends. It's retrograde at the beginning of the 2 of Cups, and it ends retrograde during that. The 3 of Cups, ruled by Mercury, I believe goes retrograde during this period, or, yeah, I believe it starts. I can check that and leave a comment below in the description. But I'll pause and look. Okay, here. So Mercury retrograde in 2020, it is retrograde from June 18th through July 12th. So it doesn't begin during that time, but the entire period that it rules, it is retrograde. So that is relevant as well, corresponds to their upside down or inverted cards. So what we have is 3 sets of dates associated in this spread, all in the same period, all in the period that's of interest to us in the iPad Go 2 videos so far. The other 2 cards do not have dates, but they're very powerful cards as aces. They're sort of undivided. So basically all the power of the water and all the air or whatever is sort of encompassed in one card because the cup isn't divided and the sword isn't either. And we have to do with what? Water and emotions. So we expect some big water stuff, especially since we have 4 cups in the spread. A lot of water, and changes within 1 year. So we get the starting point, this period between June 11th and July 11th, and we have a year to watch it unfold to see what this spread has in play for us. And then we have what will we see during this period of time. We're going to see chaos. We're going to see the Hegelian dialectic playing out, new problems, new chaos, new reactions, and fears and so on, and then solutions that come out to change things gradually. And we're going to see reverse evolution. We're going to see things falling apart. So if I were to do my little guess, I'd say this spread powerfully marks the June 21st to July 11th. I'm sorry, I should change that to 11th. June 11th to July 11th as a starting point, and changes will come and become clearer for the following year. Expect darkness, evil, and returning backwards, some sort of devolution to a more primitive social state, perhaps institutions and so on, due to chaos in the world that was invoked by these people, the people who caused it, right? Because the Ace of Swords is not a natural force, it's sort of this invoked one. And expect radical new and dark ways of life to be proposed as solutions to the new problems. So that would be like the reading of the spread in the classroom, which is interesting because it gives us the idea that this could be this isn't just something that starts right away and it happens completely within that period of time, June 21st to July 5th. This is something that begins around that time and may be more or less obvious to us, and then over the next year becomes very obvious, right? So by the end of the year we get it, and we may even, I'm sure with the type of chaos and evil and shock that we're looking at here, it's gonna be perceptible all the way through, but it won't be all done early on. And we're already seeing that, right? It's big changes, but it's slow enough that people, literally, there are people still holding out hope that things are just going to get better and go back to normal. Okay, maybe we'll all be able to go back to stores soon or whatever. But it's not like that. It's going to be all the way through. It might be to some extent like this, gradual. We'll be getting a clearer picture as time passes. Let's see. So that's what I think is going on there. Now, I know we have the 2 of hearts, the 2 of cups, the 3 of cups. I'm really confident about the Queen of Cups. Looking at that, I think we have the Ace of Swords there. And then just judging by the fact that we've worked with the other 4 things in the hearts throughout the classroom, we're representing cups. I think we have the ace of cups. So I think we have the spread. I'm pretty sure of it. And maybe somebody who's a qualified occult member or a tarot card reader could give an interpretation of the spread down in the comments. It'd be interesting to see what they think. So, all right. Thank you for taking your time to listen to this, and sorry if I rambled a little bit today. Take care. Bye.